Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my 2022 NFL Draft bold predictions. Inside of today's video, I'll be going over 5 different predictions that I believe are going to come true in the 2022 NFL Draft that may be a little bit bold compared to what the consensus is on what is going to go down during the 2022 NFL Draft. But before we can get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my top 5 bold NFL draft predictions for this draft coming up on Thursday. We begin at number 1 with Kayvon Thibodeaux not being a top 5 pick. While this take is not denying that Thibodeaux is a very talented player, it's not. I'm not telling you that I think that Thibodeaux is going to be a bust in the NFL. I don't think that. But the reason why I believe that he may not end up being a top 5 pick in this draft is because of the teams that are picking in the top 5. The first pick of the draft is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and based on reports, they have not made their decision on who they will be picking yet, but it is between Aiden Hutchinson and Travon Walker. The GM of the team and the owner of the team are kind of battling with one another because one wants Hutchinson, the other one wants Walker. But based upon those reports, it's pretty clear that either Walker or Hutchinson will be the number 1 overall pick. At number 2, we got the Detroit Lions, and I think they are going to take the leftover of whoever is left that the Jaguars don't pick. So if the Jaguars take Hutchinson, then I think that the Lions are going to take Walker, and vice versa. If the Jaguars take Walker, then I think the Lions are going to end up taking Aiden Hutchinson. And then at number 3, we move to the Houston Texans, and there's a lot of holes on that team. There are a bunch of holes on that team, but I genuinely think that they're going to look to build up their offensive line at the number 3 overall pick. Protecting the quarterback is always a very big priority for teams, and I think they're going to go with Ike Ekwonu, an offensive tackle. And then at 4, we get the New York Football Jets. And I feel that the most important position for the Jets to draft is going to be corner. They're going to look to address the secondary. And I believe they're going to go with Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati. He seems like the most talented corner in this draft. The guy was fucking fantastic, even in the college football playoffs, despite the fact that they got absolutely destroyed. They got bent over a table and smacked by the Alabama Crimson Tide. In that game, Sauce Gardner still played really well. So now we're at number 5, about to close in the top 5, and we got the Giants. And we are in another scenario, just like with the Texans, where I feel as though the team is going to look to protect their quarterback. They want to see what they have in Daniel Jones. Is this going to be the final year of Daniel Jones being the starter on the team? Are they going to look to move on in 2023? I think the best way to really learn how good Daniel Jones is by building the wall up in front of him, drafting Charles Cross, offensive tackle out of Mississippi State. Ultimately, I think Thibodeaux is going to end up being a top 10 pick, but I just would not be surprised at all if he doesn't end up being called inside of the top 5. So next up, we move to my number 2 bold draft prediction, and that is going to be Drake London will be the best wide receiver from this draft class in year number 1. I'm not trying to project year 7 from now, but in year number 1 in his rookie year in fantasy football, regardless of where he is drafted. While when you hear this, you might think that sounds a little bit fucking crazy, Nick. That sounds a little bit outrageous since landing spot is so important in fantasy football. And I agree with you. The landing spot where he ends up getting drafted in the draft is important. But what is also important is the skill set of the player as well as the teams that are going to be looking for a wide receiver. I personally believe that Drake London will be drafted either in the early, like pick maybe 10, to pick 20 in the NFL draft. So there are 5 teams in that range that I believe could take Drake London. Now, could some random team trade up and take Drake London? Could some crazy shit happen and a team that you thought, and I personally believed, was not going to take Drake London, could they take him? 100%, because the NFL draft is crazy. But in my book right now, looking at the draft order, I think it could be the Jets, the Washington Commanders, the Texans, the Eagles, or the Saints selecting him. on all of those teams, he would likely fill the role of being the 1B to the other wide receivers 1A. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be the clear number 2. When I say 1A, 1B, I mean that I think they are both going to be very involved in the offense. And even with him not likely being in the alpha role in the offense, I think he could command a humongous target share in whichever offense he gets drafted to, just like he did in college at USC. Drake London played 3 years at USC and had his true breakout season in 2021. At 20 years old, he played in 8 games prior to his injury. He had 88 receptions on 124 targets for 1,084 yards and 7 touchdowns with a 24.80% target share in the USC offense. Now, you might be thinking, Nick, I don't know about his injury. What happened to him? He got hurt last year, missed some time, but it's nothing serious. It's not like something that's going to knock him out multiple games in the 2022 NFL season. He should be good to go by the time they're in camp. So there's really no need to worry about Drake London. He has the upside to be a Michael Thomas level target in the NFL, meaning this guy's just getting force-fed with targets unless he gets drafted to the Saints, because you want to know who's on the Saints? Fucking Michael Thomas. So I don't think he's going to see that crazy of a target share there. But with the other teams, I think that Drake London could be fantastic. My expectation right now, putting it out there into the world, the universe, I believe that Drake London will be drafted to the Jets. And I honestly don't believe the Jets to take this humongous leap in 2022 where they don't absolutely suck ass, right? I think they're still going to finish with like 4 wins, but that doesn't mean that with a 4-win team that Drake London can't be the best wide receiver in this class in fantasy football in 2022. Before we move on into my next bold prediction, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is known for their NFL best ball tournaments. However, Underdog does not stop there. Underdog has plenty of other contests for you to compete in, including live draft contests and pick'ems in which you can make up to 20 times your entry fee. Use promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. Click the link in the video description or just type it in right there. Like I said, Awesemo, AWESEMO. I'm pointing to it as well. Or if you click on the link in the description, it will just automatically input the promo code for you, and you will get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. Please make sure that you get started using Underdog Fantasy today. I love using Underdog, and there's going to be a lot of videos on the Best Ball channel. This is going on the fantasy channel, but on the Best Ball channel of me doing best ball drafts on there. So at number 3, my third hot take is going to be Breece Hall will be a first-round pick. I am personally someone who is against drafting a running back inside of the first round, as I feel like you can find some solid running back in the 3rd round, in the 4th round, in the 5th round of the draft, right? You don't just have to pull the trigger in the 1st round. You look back a couple of years ago, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a first-round pick. Jonathan Taylor was a 2nd-round pick. So there's a lot of value you can find later on in the draft. There's going to be guys that are fantastic that you draft early on in the draft, like Nick Chubb. But there's also going to be the guys that you can find later. So in my opinion, if I was an NFL GM and owner, I'm not fucking drafting Breece Hall in the 1st round, because I think that you can find a lot of value later. You can create a running back by committee. I don't like running back by committees for fantasy, but in terms of creating a real NFL team, that could work out really well, and it does in the NFL. So, while again, I don't believe that drafting a running back in the 1st round makes sense, it seems like most NFL teams just did not get that memo. There are a lot of signs, there's a lot of smoke showing up, pointing towards the Buffalo Bills drafting Breece Hall at the end of the 1st round. He would fill in as an immediate starter on the team, as he is miles above the skill set of Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. In college, he had back-to-back 1,400 rushing yard seasons with over 20 touchdowns. Last year in 2021, he had 12 games played with 253 rushes for 1,472 rushing yards, 23 total touchdowns, 36 receptions for 302 receiving yards. This landing spot, if he was to get drafted to the Buffalo Bills, I genuinely believe, and I would not be surprised at all if this man was a top 5 running back in 2022. That's not going to be my hot take yet, because he's not on the Bills yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills or some other team got a little bit crazy. They started getting trigger happy, and they said, oh man, I really want Breece Hall. You saw what Breece Hall did in college, and then they draft him. I don't think they'll regret it. But again, I still don't think you should be drafting a running back in the 1st round. My 4th bold take, my 4th bold prediction for today's video is going to be Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty, will be the first quarterback drafted. Just like with the Bills being in on drafting a running back, there's a lot of noise about the Carolina Panthers going quarterback with the 6th overall pick in this draft, and that quarterback being Kenny Pickett. This thought process comes from the Panthers feeling strongly about him after their meeting together, right? The reports come out, oh, they had this excellent meeting. That's cool. But the Panthers also reported that their meetings with all the other quarterbacks went well as well. Like they were all great. They all went fine and dandy. So why is this coming out about Kenny Pickett? That's making me think that maybe the Panthers aren't sold on just 100% drafting Kenny Pickett, and there is still a good chance that they end up drafting Malik Willis. I feel very certain that the Panthers are going to go quarterback at number 6, and I personally believe the best quarterback on the board available at that pick. They have every quarterback available. I don't think any team's going to trade up into the top 5 and take a quarterback. Could that happen? Yes. It could happen, and maybe my prediction will still be right, and some team trades up for Malik Willis. But I feel as though Malik Willis will be the first quarterback taken off the board. If I was the Panthers, I'm drafting Malik Willis. He had 2 straight years at Liberty of over 2,200 passing yards and 20-plus touchdowns with over 800 rushing yards and 13 rushing touchdowns. In 2021, he cemented his dominance with 207 completions for 2,857 yards and 27 touchdowns with 12 INTs, as well as 197 rushes for 878 yards and 13 total touchdowns. To me, he fits the bill to be the best quarterback coming off the board, the number 1 quarterback off the board, and I really do think that the Panthers are going to take him. I think that they're not as in as Kenny Pickett as it seems like the reports are telling us. My final take is going to be another quarterback take. It is going to be that Desmond Ridder will be a first-round pick. Do I believe that Desmond Ridder should be a first-round pick? You might be thinking, Nick, do you think that? Fuck no. Fuck no. Capital F-U-C-K, no. All in capitals. I don't think so. But do I think there's a shot that a team in the first round, the Lions, pull the trigger on him before the first round comes to conclusion? I think it's possible, assuming that Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett get taken in the first round before him. I think they might want to take Ridder. I think they might realize, hey, we got Jared Goff. We'll have Goff start this year, but Ridder will learn from him. Ridder will sit on the bench. Maybe he gets in a couple games. I think maybe they might believe that he could be the quarterback one of their future. 2021, at Cincinnati, he had 251 completions on 387 attempts for 3,334 yards and 30 touchdowns with 8 INTs. He also rushed for 355 yards on 110 carries and 6 total touchdowns. Again, do I believe that he is a first-round capital, like that he deserves first-round draft capital? I don't think so. But in the NFL, you have to find your quarterback. And if you're sitting there, pick 32, you already drafted Aiden Hutchinson, you already drafted Walker, and you're sitting there, and you're like, okay, now let's take the shot on the quarterback. I'm not 100% sold again that he's that great. I think the Lions might be, and if he doesn't get picked in the first round, I'll backtrack my statement, and he gets picked right at the beginning of the second round because the Lions have another picks. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure that you do hit that like button, as well as that subscribe button down below, and let me know down below in the comment section what your number 1 bold NFL draft prediction is going to be for the 2022 NFL Draft. Again, please make sure that you guys do go ahead and check out our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. I love doing drafts on there. I do them all the time, so make sure that you guys do check them out. Again, promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, for a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, good boy!